Hello guys, my name is Tang Mun Chun, and then I'm going to introduce the role of the polymers in construction materials, which we are going to learn in this manufacturing processes course. So basically for this lecture that we are going to have 5 different learning points. Firstly, we are going to introduce the evolution of the construction materials, and then we are going to explain the role of the materials in the modern constructions. And then after that, we are going to compare the properties of the traditional materials with the polymer-based materials. And four, we are going to present how we are going to use the polymer-based materials in the real-life practices, which are including in buildings, roads, and infrastructures. And lastly, we are going to highlight the challenges and the future directions in polymer constructions. So firstly, we are going to introduce the development history of the construction materials. Firstly, during 1930s to 40s, which that time is the industrial revolution time. And then this is the first time that the polymer-based materials are going into the mass productions. And then the mass production of two types of polymers is PVC and PE. And then this polymer is using to replacing the metal bar, the metal pipe, sorry. And then for 1950, PU and epoxy are introducing into the real world. And then they are using to replace the old materials for the new insulation and enhancing purpose for the flooring and roofing. And during 1960 to 70s, we are going to introduce the silicone sealants. And then these sealants are introduced for the tall glass buildings to using for waterproof purpose. And 1980s, they are introducing a new type of polymer-based material, which is FRP. And then this polymer is to use to replace the steel reinforcement in the corrosion-prone structures. And then during 1990, between 1990 to 2000s, these polymers are further improving their availability to using in another construction materials, which is in road. And then they are using for pavement. And then they are introducing this pavement polymer is to dominate waterproofing, insulation, and further modify the pavement of the road. And lastly, during 2010 to present days, one of the example, the great example is the 3D printing, and much more sustainable polymers and polymer composites are introducing during this period, because we are going this polymer-based materials, this sustainable polymer are going to achieve the goal to reducing the pollutions that is causing by the production of the non-recyclable polymers, to further lowering down the harmful effect to the earth. So basically, firstly, we are going to introduce what is the traditional construction materials, and there's 4 kinds. First one is wood, steel, concrete, and masonry. And then for wood, we can see that the limitation for wood is low durability, weak, flammable, and non-waterproof. And then although they are strong in compression and lightweight. And then for steel, although they are strong in tension, durable, but it will rust. So it need corrosion protection, and also they are weak in fire resistant because they are having a lower melting point compared to other metals. For concrete, it needs steel for reinforcement to further enhance its tension and tensile strength. And although it is durable, but it will cracks. And then it's also very heavy, but although this kind of limitations, they still have a perform a good fire resistant. And for masonry, although they are strong in compression, very durable, but is also very heavy. So in order to overcome this problem, we are going to introduce the polymer-based material. So before we are entering to introduce the application of it, we are going to learn some, we need to recall some basic ideas of what is polymer. Firstly, these polymers are the long chain molecules that made from repeating units, which is called as polymers. And then it can be natural or synthetic. The example for natural polymer are rubber, and then for synthetic is PVC, epoxy, and PE. And then the properties of this kind of polymer is they are lightweight, corrosion resistant, chemical resistant, good insulation, and flexible, and lastly easy to ship. So what we are going to increasingly our usage of polymer-based material compared to traditional construction materials. And because we are judging from 6 different perspectives, 6 different factors, which is including weight, corrosion, strength, maintenance, design, and cost. And overall, the polymers are performed better than the traditional construction materials, such as weight for the traditional materials are much more heavier than polymer-based materials, and corrosion resistant for the polymer-based materials is performed better than the traditional materials, and strength of the polymer are performed better than the traditional materials. And then for maintenance and the cost, it's because the polymer-based material they are require less maintenance costs, so we will further to lowering down the long-term cost. And then for design, in the terms of design, the polymer-based materials are much more flexible than the traditional materials. So these are the 3 types of polymers that generally used in constructions. Firstly is thermoplastic, second one is thermosets, and lastly is elastomers. And then thermoplastics, the example of thermoplastics is PVC, PE, and PP. And then they are using in pipes, window frames, and sheets. For thermosets, the example are epoxy, polyester, resin, and polyurethane. And they are mainly used in adhesives, coatings, FRP, and fluorine. And then lastly for elastomer, the example are rubber, silicone, and they are mainly used in sealant, gaskets, and waterproofing. So there are different kinds of application of this polymer-based material. The firstly are the polymer concrete, and then this is the kind of concrete that the polymer resin will replace the traditional materials of the usage of cement. And then the advantages is they are much more stronger, waterproof, and chemical resistant. And then the usage of this polymer concrete is at the drainage channels, tanks, and sewer covers. And then the application 2 is fiber reinforced polymers, which is known as FRP. And then these polymers are the combination of polymer resin plus the glasses, or the other combination is the polymer resin with carbon fibers. The advantages of these materials is they are strong, lightweight, and non-corrosive. And then these materials are mainly used in bridge reinforcement, column strengthening, and marine structures. Application 3, the polymers in road constructions, just like as I mentioned before. And then this polymer modified aspar is mixes with SPS or EVA polymer. And basically this is a mixture of aspar with SPS or EVA polymer. And then the advantages is it improves the flexibility in terms of design of the road and reduces the cracks and withstand the heat better. So just like the highways and the airport runways which require the better heat resistant. It's just like for the airport runways, we are going to require the airplane to stop at the right place. So when we are going to apply the brake onto the road, it will generate so much heat to the road, and then with these materials, will further lower down the maintenance cost of the road. Application for insulation and building protection. And in these applications, there are three types of polymer-based materials is using in this area. First one is PU foam, EPS or SPS board, and lastly is the silicon sealant. And then PU foam and EPS board are mainly used in roof because it's lightweight, waterproof, and for PU foam, it improves the energy efficiency. And for silicon sealant, it's mainly used in tall glass building, as I mentioned before. And this is because the silicon sealant is UV resistant and durable. So here is the advantages of why we are using the polymer-based materials to replacing the traditional construction materials. Firstly, they are lightweight and easy to handle, high durability and chemical resistant, excellent insulation properties, and comes with lower maintenance costs and with fast installation. Although we saying so much talk about the advantages of this polymer base, but doesn't mean that it doesn't come with the limitations. And then the limitations of these polymer based materials are higher initial cost for advanced polymers and difficult to recycle thermoset polymers, and the fire safety concerns for some plastics. Just like some plastic, PVC is not withstanding the heat, it will melt when contact with the high temperature. And then mostly is the environmental impact if not properly managed. And then the production of these polymer-based materials is causing so many environmental issues into our world. So we are going to our future trends is to producing the recyclable polymers to further lower down the harmful effects to our environment. So, in summary, the usage of the polymers are becoming popular since industrial revolutions period. And then the traditional materials are strong, but it limited by weight and corrosion. So that's why we are going to use the polymer-based materials, because the advantages of them are lightweight, durable, and corrosion-free. And then this kind of materials, they are widely used in concrete, roads, insulation, sealants, and structure reinforcement, which is they can apply in different kinds of area in construction. And then the future trends will move toward bio-based, recyclable, and smart polymer materials to further lower down the harmful effects that we cause due to the production of the polymer-based materials to our world. So lastly, here is the reference for this lecturer. So I will going to end our lecture today, and thank you for listening today. And thank you. See you guys. Bye bye.